Today we're talking different types of isometrics, specifically overcoming isometrics and yielding isometrics. What are the pros and cons? Which one is best for you in which applications? And how do you even combine the two to get the best of both worlds? First up, we've got overcoming isometrics. This is characterized by when you're pushing or pulling against an unyielding force, forcing your muscles to generate progressive amounts of muscle tension. Due to Newton's third law of motion, every action equal and opposite reaction. So for example, if I'm in a doorway and I'm pushing something against the other side, I'm wedging myself into the door, and the harder I push, the more resistance I'm getting. Therefore, I can theoretically tense my muscles infinitely harder because I can always put more force in, therefore get more tension required in my muscles. But while overcoming isometrics can theoretically have a very wide range of tension, it's actually a little bit more limited than we often think due to something called cortical inhibition. This is basically a little safety catch that we have in our nervous system that prevents us from contracting our muscles too hard. Because yes, it is possible to do that. If you've ever suffered a cramp, you know what it's like to bypass cortical inhibition. You can actually hurt yourself. So when we're in a situation where we can theoretically tense our muscles infinitely harder, that safety net kind of kicks in and says, I'm going to play it safe and actually hold you back a little bit. So some people, when they try isometrics and it's an overcoming style, they feel like they just can't get their muscles to work as hard as they want, and that's the reason why. The other downside is overcoming isometrics doesn't give us that much of a kinetic feedback on how much force we're producing. We can feel ourselves pushing or pulling harder, but it doesn't really allow us that much programming or quantifiable metrics over time. Now, despite those shortcomings, one of the great applications for overcoming isometrics is improving your neuromuscular proficiency, specifically getting sleepy muscles to wake up and get engaged, that mind-muscle connection, and improving neural synergy, so getting your chest to work with your shoulders and triceps and everything else working together. This is why we program overcoming isometrics in the first round of grind-style calisthenics, because in that first set, we're just getting things to turn on and work together. We don't need it to be a super hard workout. In fact, we don't really want it to be, because we need some energy in the muscles left for the grind phase later on in the workout. So for a warm-up and to just kind of wake yourself up a little bit, overcoming isometrics is fantastic. On the other hand, we have yielding isometrics. Yielding isometrics is characterized by holding ourselves in place against a set amount of resistance. Set amount of resistance, set amount of tension in the muscles. Think of holding yourself down in the bottom of a push-up position, about 6 inches or a few inches off the floor, right? I have a set amount of resistance, therefore a set amount of tension. If I have less tension in my muscles, then I start to lower down to the floor. So I get that feedback saying you're not contracting hard enough. We're also limited by yielding isometrics, because if I push too hard and have too much tension in my muscles, then I'm going to lift myself up. So while you do have feedback saying you have to contract your muscles to at least a certain level, you also have a limitation there as well, because if you contract them even more, you move and you get out of that sort of position. Yielding isometrics is very good for athletic endeavors. If you need to be able to hold a position, or if you need to be able to fix like a weak point in a technique, say for example the deadlift, you're like, oh, my grip is not very strong. Well, you just hold the bar. You can hold yourself up on a barbell when grabbing towels and stuff. That's a yielding isometric, and that allows you to overcome weaknesses and help improve some sort of a quantifiable performance aspect that you want to improve for some sort of a sport or functional application. Now, like all tools, overcoming and yielding isometrics, fantastic, they're great. Used in the right way, they'll definitely be very effective for you. But there is yet a third hybrid version where you combine the two of these together and get the best of both worlds. This is what I talk about in my book, Overcoming Isometrics. I have a chapter called Hybrid Isometrics, where basically what we're doing is we're working with a live load, but we also have some sort of an immovable force or object that we can't move beyond. So we bypass some of that cortical inhibition. We do have some degree of that quantifiableness, and we have an unlimited amount of resistance we can generate against our muscles, either with an iso loop, or this is also what Dragon Door's new iso chain is all about, because it's got that spring to give you a live load, and you can just pull as hard as you can on that handle, and it's always going to fight you back. So the best of both worlds, if you can manage it, is to combine the two. Have a live load that you're pressing or pushing against an immovable object. That way you get all the benefits and none of the downsides. And if you want to learn more about that, check out my book, Overcoming Isometrics, or the Overcoming Isometrics or Isometrics playlist here on the Red Delta Project YouTube channel. Hope that answers your questions. Let me know if you have any further questions down below in the comments section. Thanks as always for watching. Be fit and live free.